All right, guys, Coach Laird here. I wanted to do a quick video on my way to pick up my daughter for preschool. And it's January, February right now, 2020. So guys are getting their arms in shape. They're doing long toss. They're throwing their bullpens. They're doing all this stuff. And there's a lot of guys that are going to start getting some soreness in their arm because they're building their arm up, They're getting their arms in shape. They're getting them prepped for the season so they're ready to rock and roll. And so basically the title of this video today is why your arm is sore or excessively sore from throwing. Now, you got to understand the difference between soreness and pain. Pain is something sharp. Pain is something that prevents you from doing an activity, okay? It is abnormal, okay? A normal ache, a normal soreness, that's perfectly fine. Like, it's very normal to have soreness in the arm, okay? So people constantly will use the term, my arm's hurting. You've got to be more specific and you've got to be more detailed when you're talking to coaches. Because you don't just if somebody comes to me and says their arm is hurting, I get pissed off immediately because I'm like, tell me if it's hurting, like if something feels wrong, or is it sore? Is it something that you're sore from? Like, did you just throw a long toss and you're just excessively sore right now, from throwing hard or throwing a bullpen, okay? Because it's normal to get sore, especially on the backside of the shoulder, right? The upper back, a lot of those areas. And there's certain areas that if you're very sensitive and sore on that are a little bit more alarming, right? Because a lot of guys, their flexors get sore, medial epicondyle. There's certain areas that you got to be aware of for tendonitis issues, UCL issues, and labrum issues, and so forth. And that's why it's important to have a good, good instructor, a good coach that actually knows what they're doing so they can help you with that. But this is the reason why your arm is excessively sore. Your arm is sore all the time, okay? Number one, you only throw a couple times a week. So I got guys, we do our VLO program, our winter VLO program, January, February, March every year, right before high school season begins. And guys will work with me. I have a program where I outline it 3 days a week, and we have a high intensity max effort day, we have a low intensity day, and we have a medium to kind of high intensity day. And then the other days out of the week, they're supposed to throw lightly, work on flat ground, work on field with pitches, and I always advise them to have 1 day off a week. So your heaviest work day a week, which would be equivalent to like a start in a baseball game, that would be your day off the very next day. And obviously in season, that should be a big heavy lifting day, sprint day, power training day, and so forth. Okay, so if your arm is not in shape, if you're not consistently throwing and you're only throwing 2 or 3 times a week and you're doing nothing, no prehab, no band work, no throwing at all, your arm's going to be sore. Think about it like lifting in the weight room once a week or twice a week and not being consistent with it, missing days here and there, and then you go back to lift again. Your body's never going to adapt. Your body's never going to adapt to that shock, and you're going to be sore all the damn time. Doing the same movements, you're still going to get sore. The body doesn't have time to adapt to it. So remember, just because your arm is a little tired or so forth doesn't mean that you do nothing. Rest is never the answer. Like, a complete rest is never the answer to fix soreness or fix a weak point. You do need that 1 day rest day a week, but you need to be doing the prehab exercises, which gets me into point number 2. You're excessively sore. You're sore all the time because you're not doing your band work. You're not doing your upper back strengthening, your lower trap strengthening, your scapular mobility, scapular stability. You're not doing your rotator cuff work. You're not working your forearms. You're not working your extensors and your flexors. There's all these things that you should be doing around, like as part of your weight training program, as part of your arm throwing program, that if you're not doing these things, those small muscles are going to be weak. And think about like those small muscles, right? Those small muscles in your body, especially surrounding your joints, that's what keeps you healthy, okay? Very rarely do you have somebody that has, a big muscle issue, like a big torn quad, right? Or a torn hamstring. You might have some hamstring pulls here and there, but most of the time, like with throwers, it's always the elbow, right? Like the checkpoints we got to look over. It's the elbow, it's the shoulder joint, right? Sometimes you got some wrist issues, which lead to elbow issues. It's your upper back. Those are things that you have to pay attention to. And if you're not doing these exercises to make those stronger, right? The little man of the body, which I always call the little man, is the small muscles, right? The big man is the big muscles. If the little man's not working, the big man's a waste, because you have to stay healthy. So if you're not doing your exercise, if you don't know those exercises, okay? If you're watching this video, you don't know exercises, I've got a ton of videos on YouTube Arm Care. I have a book that's $10 right? It's a $10 book that has a lifetime worth of my knowledge when I wrote that book in my late 20s, that has programs to do to take care of your arm. It has a long toss program on there, and has the prehab exercises on there. I don't like saying rehab, obviously, because I'm not a therapist, but it's prehabs, like preventative exercises to prevent you having to have rehab, right? Because you're trying to protect those joints, okay? Number 3, you don't understand the difference of the RPE, your rate of perceived exertion when you're throwing. Think about in the weight room, you don't max effort, you don't max every single day in the weight room, right? You don't do that. And we do a conjugate style program in the weight room, so we have max effort days, we have dynamic effort days, and repetition effort days, right? So if you're throwing long toss and you're just randomly just trying to throw as hard as you can, specifically trying to throw as hard as you can before your arm's even warmed up, before doing, like, our warm-up is like 30 to 45 minutes in our VLO program. And then we have a 15 to 20 minute recovery at the end of our throwing. That's in between our power training and our strength training that we'll do as part of that programming. So if you don't understand, like, hey, there's going to be light days of long toss, right? There's going to be days you don't go out as far. There's going to be days you're not trying to throw as hard. There's going to be days you're working on feeling, just kind of stretching it out a little bit. There's days that you're not trying to throw the ball as hard as you can. You got to understand how programs work. And the video is not for me to sit here and break everything down. It would take me 2-3 hours of a video. The majority of people that say they're committed wouldn't even watch anyway, because it's the video specifically to point out flaws that you're doing, that why you are sore, okay? So the 3 main points, and then the 4th point is a mindset. And this is something that I cannot, like, I can teach it, I can try to implement it, I can try to get you to buy into that process, but it's a mindset. Is a lot of people are mentally weak, okay? And a lot of people will confuse this. I'm gonna kind of get back into what I'm talking about earlier, pain and soreness. And they think immediately because you're sore, because you're going through something. Here's the thing, if you're doing anything hard physically, there's gonna be some soreness that comes from it until your body adapts a little bit. And there's always gonna be a little bit of soreness from throwing a little bit. Your arm's gonna feel a little tired, obviously. It's gonna feel a little weak the next day. That's why it's important for you to take care of yourself and do those things. But there are some people that think that just because they push themselves a little bit, that allows them to give them some time to do nothing. It allows them to not work as hard. When I'm talking about the mindset, they give up, and they think that, okay, well, I worked hard right here, right now, so the next day, I'm just gonna take it a little easy and stuff. And that's not the way to do it. Like, you go 100% all in with everything that you do. So if you're skipping those prehab exercises the next day, that's a weak mindset. If you're skipping, the football training, if you're throwing a football for a program, like specifically my guys, that's a weak mindset. You're trying to find a way out of doing the work because it's too hard for you. And that mindset's got to change. And this is with any high school baseball player, college baseball player, whatever it is. Like, if you don't have a strict plan, if you don't have a plan, and again, there's a template for a plan, and then it's individualized based on weak points, based on, the movement assessments of players, and based on things that you need to adjust for each individual player, right? So there might be a guy that has a history of elbow issues that's with me, that we might focus a little bit more on the elbow during his recovery program. Or a guy with shoulder issues, or a guy that has not enough internal rotation because he's excessively in external rotation. Like, there's a lot of things that go into programs, and you have to understand these things. You can't just ignore, right? And especially if you've had any kind of injury in the past, you can't just ignore something that's happened and just say, all right, well, I'm healed up from it because I'm feeling better now. So I said I wanted to do a quick video, and it's ended up being a 9-minute video. But this information is gold. Like, I wish I would have had this type of information when I was younger, because I specifically thought, okay, well, I'm doing the big exercises, I'm going to take care of everything in the back, I'm strong everywhere. And that's not necessarily true. Like, the big answer for me was from therapists back in the day when I was playing is like, oh, you need to pull more than you push, right? That's why your upper back's weak. But they had no idea about upper back work, real upper back work. They just thought doing rows was going to help, instead of really developing the lower trap, helping get my scap to go get into upward rotation instead of keeping that scapular depression. There's so many things that go into taking care of an arm, and there's a lot of coaches that that have egos that don't want to look into this stuff, and that's fine if you don't want to look into it, but you better have a damn good strength coach, and you better understand that your players need to go see other people. If your high school baseball team or your college baseball team was all you ever needed for development, there would be more MLB guys coming out of more programs. There would be more guys more successful. There wouldn't be a need for people like me, private businesses that are developing and working on guys. And I'm not going to get into that rant, but listen, If your arm is excessively sore, pay attention to these 4 points that I'm talking about. Figure it out, ask questions, figure out what you need to do to get yourself feel better. And here's the thing, write down what you're doing. Do a log of what you're doing, right? And it's easy to find out. Ask your coach, like, what you're not doing in that log, right? Because also, we're not even talking about nutrition. We're not even talking about sleep. And those things play a factor in your recovery and your excessive soreness. So, also the strength and conditioning. So I could have made like 15 points right here, right now, but I wanted to talk about 4 main points. And part of 4 is doing that strength and conditioning and making yourself accountable for those actions. So these are top reasons why your arm is sore right now, prepping for baseball season. Make sure you guys follow, make sure you guys like, please share the video if you want. Until next time, see you guys later.